Hello everybody, my name is Benjamin Bloom. I have just witnessed Bristol City 1, Ipswich Town 0 in icy cold, sometimes snowy Bristol. So all my body parts are now working, but I feel a little bit sorry for the players having to play in that. Anyway, which players played in that? I hear you ask. Bristol City went with their normal 4-4-2, Fielding in goal, Pisano right back, Magnuson and Wright were the centre backs, so neither of the two centre halves, Flint and Baker, who we saw at Portman Road, play so well. Kelly, the left back, more about him later. Brownhill wide right, Pack and Smith centre midfield, Patterson left midfield, with Djuric and Reed, the joint top scorer in the division, up front. Ipswich back to 3-5-2 after Mick's incredibly strange team selection in the 3-0 home defeat against Hull. He goes back to the 3-5-2 that we'd kind of grown used to since the Norwich game. Bart in goal, Carter, Vickers, Webster, Chambers, the three centre halves. The wing backs, Knudsen on the left, Spence on the right, Skews and Connolly sitting in midfield, with Ward getting the chance. He hadn't had a chance recently, so nice to see him starting in front of those. Sears and Waghorn up front. Just a quick shout, Joe Garner not playing, and we wish him well. He seems to have broken every single part of his body. Minor fracture of the skull, may need a shoulder operation, and it's likely we're not going to see him again this season. Another Ipswich player out for the season. So the game starts, Reed shifts it out of his feet, comes across left, right, doesn't really beat anybody. He's kind of running across the line, hits his shot from outside the box low, and Bart saves it easily. First 10 minutes is pretty uneventful, both teams feeling each other out. Ipswich were playing the 3-5-2 shape a little bit better. The centre halves were a bit more spread out and the wing backs further forward. There'd been complaints certainly in our feed on Twitter about it all coming together and you having this five at the back, so it looked like that was the plan, certainly the way the game started. Waghorn gets a free kick in a good spot, puts it into the wall. Knudsen blasts the follow up high and handsome over the bar. Deep cross all the way over for Bristol City from the left. Brownhill, sort of poor floaty finish. You can see not a great game in the beginning. Short corner for City into the back post, drops down. Pisano and Reed are both there, but Bart gathers it before either of them can do anything. Nice corner from Waghorn on 33. Spence gets a little bit on it and just kind of trickles through to the goalie. On 35 minutes, the weather got really bad. The snow got reasonably heavy and the wind was kind of swirling it around and around, so not nice to play. And strangely, this actually prompted Ipswich's best 10 minutes of the game. Although daft pass out of defence by Chambers, Skews gets given a bit of a hospital ball, loses the 60-40, floated into the back post. Djuric's volley is charged down and cleared out by Spence. Ipswich attacks now, work down the left, Knudsen deep cross, Spence is well forward, climbs really well from 8 yards but can't control his header. That was nice to see. Both full-backs forward, Spence in the box, but right at the peak of his jump, and he can't get the header on target. Even better chance here though, straight after. Bristol City can't get out. It's Spence this time, it's down the right, and he puts in a good cross. Connolly, like we saw at Sheffield Wednesday, gets to the back post, heads it across, and Fielding makes the save. So half-time comes. I would say, without any sense of bias, that Ipswich just edged the first half. Bristol City had their usual, lots of pressing, and it looked like the instruction from McCarthy, and certainly the way the Ipswich players were playing it, was don't try and play through the press. So when they all started, sprinting at Ipswich players, it went back and round and sideways. So I think that was tactically actually quite good from McCarthy, because these pressing teams, they suck you in when you try and play through them, and you kind of play into their hands. So Ipswich didn't do that, so that was good. The fullbacks slightly better than normal in the first half. We know that the two Ipswich fullbacks are not the greatest footballing wing backs, and it looked like concerted effort to get them up the pitch, and when they got in positions, a couple of good crosses in that created chances. So that's better than them being just, you know, defenders number 4 and 5 in a back 5, as opposed to the way a 3-5-2 should look. I thought it was executed a little bit better, although Knudsen does tend to kind of tuck in a little bit too much, but there you go. Not a lot of great passing by either team, I have to say. Neither team looked good in the first half. Reed and Jeju didn't really get chances. Pack tried to get on the ball for Bristol City, but didn't have much. And you can tell it's a bit of a clustery game when the people who get the most on the ball are the fullbacks from both teams, because, you know, they kind of are afforded a bit more space. Be interested to see who had the most touches. Probably the fullbacks, I would have thought. So not a great first half, but I think Ipswich slightly edged it. Bit of a tepid start to the second half also. Jeju and Kelly both have shots blocked. Neither team, you know, the passing, I said they're not getting the passing going, actually started to get quite bad at that point. But on 55, Lee Johnson brings in Djuric for Jeju, who, you know, didn't have a great game today. None of the forwards really did. Kelly drives forward on 56, decent enough left foot from outside the box, easy saved for Bart. Incidentally, the snow has completely cleared now and the sun is out. That doesn't mean it was warm, it's bloody freezing. Waghorn and Pisano bashed together on 58, but it breaks for Connolly and they're kind of behind them for the only time in the game. Connolly drives at goal, the covering defender blocks his shot and it goes out for a corner. Chance for Bristol City, best chance of the game up to this point. Long ranger from Packy's, way out actually. Poor from Bielkowski in the goal from Ipswich. He watches it, it bounces and he still then spills it, bounces out to Djuric. It's a great chance. I think he kicks it into the ground possibly, and because there was no corner given, so I don't think any Ipswich player touched it. Knudsen was back online and it kind of loops up and over the goal. Best chance of the game there until the 63rd minute, where Bristol City do take the lead and what turned out to be the winning goal. It's Kelly, the left back. Ipswich are slow from the throw-in. It gets fed back to Kelly. He's got a bit of space, but it's a great cross. It's one of those ones where the defence is lined up and he kind of curls it, you know, behind into a really good spot where the defenders are going back for it and the keeper can't quite get out. Djuric is on the move and Webster is kind of watching him and isn't really on the move. It's a nice height for a striker when it comes in, waist height, but not for a defender, because they're like, shall I kick it, shall I try and header it, shall I wrestle with the guy and risk conceding a penalty. Djuric gets a cross and really good diving header, actually gets a good contact on it right into the corner. Not much chance for Bielkowski. So poor from Ipswich's point of view, didn't get out from the throw-in, and you know, Webster was in a one-on-one with Djuric. Fair play, Kelly, good cross from a deep position, and Djuric, you know, maybe it should have been defended, but he did what he needed to, and he got the header on it and smashed it into the corner, so well done for him. Now, given Ipswich's system and their really lack of creating chances in the past few weeks, 1-0 against is normally a bit of a dagger, so it'd be interesting to see how they came out. Magnuson seems to hurt himself charging down Ward when he goes down the right. He's down for a little while, and Hegler comes in for him. I'm looking at the bench now on 73. Mick doesn't have that many options, especially going forward now. Hughes out for the season, Garner out for the season, Carroll is out, Dazelle is out, Bishop is out. There's not much for him to play with. We're thinking maybe Selena come in, but nothing doing there. And 75, Ipswich play their best passing of the whole game. It's a great move. Skews to Waghorn. Waghorn, brilliant pass outside of the left foot. Sends Spence away. Criticism of Spence as an attacking force, but he does well here. He waits and waits, and he stands it up. He picks out the back post, and it's Connolly in there again. Gets a good header, firm header, blocked by Hegler. I think he's kind of covering Fielding a little bit, so obviously on target. Good passing move. When they do get it going, there's players there that can do it, and Connolly, I need to give praise because he got in the box 2 or 3 times today, and probably in terms of shots was Ipswich's most dangerous attacking player, which says something when he's a full-back playing in midfield. Connolly wins a free kick. Ward puts it way over. Poor execution from Ward. He's normally better than that. On 80 minutes, Webster, great stride out of defence. I'd love to see him do this 5 or 6 times a game, not once every 3 games. He feeds Knudsen. It's a good cross from Knudsen, actually. He picks out Spence. He lifts it back across and it's headed out. Another brilliant corner from Waghorn following that up. Right in on the keeper. Spills out. Could have got in on its own, and no one is Johnny on the spot to put that one in, to use that horrible football cliche. Johnson brings in O'Neill for Patterson, presumably for a bit of experience. And finally, Selina comes in for Ward. So in the same position, but Selina getting a chance to play a little bit deeper, maybe in a bit of a freer role. Smith takes a yellow, professional foul on Sears. Knudsen takes a yellow for jumping into Pisano. 6 minutes of stoppage time. There was a couple of head injuries and Magnuson's long stoppage. There's a couple of chances for Ipswich. Spence floats a nice cross in for Waghorn and he loops the header well wide. Selina is pulling the strings now as everybody's going forward. Webster's virtually playing up front to end the game. Good play by Selina. He doesn't panic, picks out a good ball to Knudsen, who'd found some space. Firm cross by Connolly. It's a great chance. He misses his kick. I think it must have hit his standing foot as he swings past it. And the ball goes behind him. It's a firm cross, so maybe a more precise, gentle cross, but Knudsen did pick Connolly out, and that was the chance to put the equaliser, the very late equaliser, in. Not happening. Ben Morris gets another 2 minutes, comes in for Sears, but he comes in sort of virtually on 94 minutes. So bit of a poor game today. It was I would say an average performance by Bristol City to beat a poor performance by Ipswich. When I saw Bristol City in, I think, end of September, I thought they were really good and they were really at it around the pitch and the pressing was working and the passing also was working. They pressed quickly and they passed quickly. They didn't pass well today. They found it difficult to get through. Ipswich is kind of, 3-5-2 system when they have the players sitting in there. What I will say is Bristol City have an excellent left back in Kelly, who was really the standout player on the pitch. His defensive work was good. He has good pace. He's reasonably good in the air. And he was the best player going forward. He had a couple of shots and put in a great cross from the goal. I don't know, I've never seen him play, don't know how old he is, but certainly really enjoyed watching Kelly for Bristol City, and he was clearly the best player on the park. For Ipswich, the 3-5-2 system is okay. It's very hard for away teams to score past. They either keep a clean sheet or only concede one when they're playing this system. That's been the pattern. Just seems unbalanced. I think there's too much emphasis on defence, and in that system, the players that are so important are the 2 wing backs in terms of using the ball. And if you're only committing one midfielder forward, it's hard to do anything sort of creative. I don't know whether the idea was to try and get Ward in that free area, but you've got to get him on the ball if you do, and it just seemed a little bit too defensive. Ipswich weren't like really bad today. It was just, Mick will probably say in his interview, it was a really close game. We blinked first, they took the chance. That's kind of true, but Ipswich didn't really do enough in an attacking sense, particularly, and were brave enough on the ball to really warrant scoring 1, or it would have been 2 goals to win that game. So I think they just need to look at the balance of the system, and there's no Garner there. There's no big forward outlet to play the direct ball to anymore. In terms of Ipswich players, Bart was okay. It's no clean sheet for him, but he was exposed for the goal. Just that one fumble, otherwise fine. 3 centre-backs. Chambers has played well most of the season. Carter Vickers is strong and tough, but not too good on the ball the past couple of games. He's getting a bit more space in the 3. Webster had that one moment. I'd love to see him come forward all the time like Mark Venus used to. He's definitely got it in him if Mick can get it out of him. Knudsen and Spence, they're trying their best. A couple of good moments. I know they'll get criticised because they're not natural in those positions, but they did create chances pretty much for each other. But they're trying their best in getting forward. They just need to really think positionally, not follow their instincts and drop in right next to a centre half. They need to be ahead, and when the fullback's coming forward, they need to be picking them up and not relying on midfielders to come back and do it. Scoos, fine, as always, does his job. Needs others around him to step up though. Connolly was probably Ipswich's best player in terms of getting forward and into the box and trying to make things happen. Ward was pretty quiet today, not his best game. Sears was a good outlet. He works hard and the ball down the channel, although things just don't seem to work for him these days the way that they used to. Waghorn, you can see, has got quality, but was getting exasperated by the quite poor service that he was getting. So in terms of the bigger picture, obviously Bristol City, that is probably, I don't want to sound bitter losing fan, that's probably not going to be good enough to get into the playoffs or win in the playoffs. They need to step back up to where they were before the season, but I suppose slightly mitigating factor that Baker and Flint, who are great players, weren't there, but that wouldn't have stopped them. They need to improve their passing and get back to the way they were playing earlier in the season. So Bristol City fans, if you're watching, let me know what you think. Can they make it into the playoffs? And if they do, what's going to happen? I think it's going to need a bit of improvement, and they may be possibly looking forward to next season and maybe a couple of additions, but like what they've done to the ground, and looks like a club going in the right direction. Obviously the bigger picture for Ipswich now, there's an international break. It's all about McCarthy, it's all about season ticket announcements. Will they come before the Birmingham game on the 30th after the international break, or will we have to wait a bit longer? The saga continues. Ipswich fans, if you're watching, let me know in the comments, is the system unbalanced? Which player or which change would it make to change that, or is it a whole philosophy thing and actually the passing around the whole team that's kind of stopping the goal scoring? And what can they do now there's no Garner and Carayel as well to get the goal scoring going again? Thank you for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you did. Follow me on Twitter at Benjamin Bloom. And it's going to be a couple of weeks without a video, so I will see you 2 games over the Easter weekend. I'll be at Norwich versus Fulham, seeing my sister up there, and then the next day Birmingham versus Ipswich, and then 2 days later the lovely people of Millwall, who I know I have a lot of followers, they're going to come down to Ipswich from Millwall Ipswich. So look forward to all of those games. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.